All right, let's take a look at worksheet lesson 1.2, the first page of it, and some of the problems that we were doing today in class. So question number 1 says, what would be the common ratio for the following situations? So now when we're talking about common ratio, we're talking about a geometric, and as we talked today with the geometric, we're always going to be comparing it to 100% or to as a percent written as a number is just simply 1. So we're either going to be going 1 plus that percentage or 1 minus that percentage, depending on the word that we're using. So depending on those particular words. So if it's going up, we're talking about like increase. Okay? We're talking about like growth, appreciate. While the subtraction is like decay, decrease, right? And, sorry, the appreciate, forgot the E, or depreciate. So, when doing these, what I want to do is look at the keyword and whether or not I'm adding or subtracting it to 1. So on the first one there, it says decay. So the first thing I'm thinking to myself is I'm going 1 minus 4.5% as a decimal, move that decimal over 2 spots. So I go 1, 2, I'm adding that 0. So I like to simplify it at the end, so I get 0.955. I'm going to go straight down since I have another decay. Do the same thing, 1 minus, move that decimal over 2 spots, 0.06. So the second one is 0.94. Looking at the next two, both next two are gross, 7% growth and 16% growth. So I can think of this one as 1 plus 0.07, again moving that decimal place over 2 spots, so 1.07. 16%, moving it over 2 spots, 1 plus 0.16 or 1.16. Oops, have that in parentheses for you. All right, the last two, one is depreciate, the other is appreciate. So we talked about those words here today in class. So depreciate means, again, going down in value. So 1 minus 0.25, move that decimal over 2 spots. So 75 or 0.75 is left. Appreciate means it's going up. So I'm going to go 1 plus, move that decimal over, 0.046 or 1.046. So again, getting these numbers, these are a common ratio. This is what we're going to multiply by in the recursive definitions when dealing with these geometric sequences. So the next two are actual examples where you could see yourself using a recursive definition. So on number 2 it says you purchase a new car for $20,000. The value of the car depreciates by 14% per year. Right away I identify that word, depreciates. So I know it's going down. I have my percentage, my 14% per year. So question A says write the recursive rule for this situation. So I see recursive rule. And it says, let u sub 0 be the starting value. The reason why we're letting it be u sub 0 again is it's a starting value. It's not the first term per se in a sequence. It's the actual starting value when we're starting at times 0. A lot of times I like to think of it. You bought the car initially at $20,000. That way, when you do the next term u sub 1, it represents the value after 1 year and 2 years. Okay? So, continuing on, u sub n equals u sub n minus 1. Next equals the previous. Now we use this common ratio. Common ratio, since it's depreciate, 1 minus 0.14. Move that decimal over. Or what I would prefer you to write as u sub n minus 1 times 0.86. However, I will accept both. The calculator will use the one up top. Now, speaking of the calculator, we're going to use it here and show you how to, again, use it to answer this next question. You want to sell your car 8 years later. How much will the car be worth? So we want to figure out u sub 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter this recursive definition into our calculator. So we're going to do that right now. So if you take out your calculator, I still have stuff up from previous worksheet here. What we want to do is go into our y equals. Now, my y equals, say y equal y1, y2, y3. Hopefully from today's lesson you have changed this mode. But if you haven't, hit your mode key. And if you take a look here, we want to go all the way down to this SEQ. If you can kind of see where my arrow is. So I'm going to use my down arrow, go down. I'm going to highlight sequential mode. So that's highlighted. Once I do that, go ahead and exit out second mode. Now when you go to your y equals, oh, it looks totally different. I actually have a whole bunch of stuff in there. But just to help you out, and just in case if you still struggled with what we did today in class, I'm going to clear all this out because more than likely either you have stuff in there or it looks pretty blank. Now the first thing that you want to do is where it says this n min equals, yours might say 1. If it does, change it to a 0 because what that corresponds to is this u sub 0 here. Okay, sorry my calculator disappears, but when I go back and forth it does that. So that we want it to be the 0 term. Now notice how it says u sub n. This is where we type in that second line, that recursive definition. So we need to get the u. If we remember from our notes, and you can refer back to your notes, you go second 7 to get the u. Put parentheses. The n is right here where it says the xtn. It has like 4 little symbols on it. That will give you the n that you want. Subtract 1, close the parentheses. So we have the u sub n minus 1. Then what we can do is actually type in times 0.86. If you want to use parentheses and type in the other one, you can. Now, we're not done quite yet. There's this u sub n min, meaning what is that n min, what is the u sub 0 term actually equal to? So you actually have to type in the $20,000. Now, once you have it typed in, if you go second and the key on your calculator right up here where it says second graph, it'll give you a table. You're going to get a table here. Now, anytime you're in the negative numbers, it's going to give you an error because the recursive definition starts at 0. So it doesn't exist. And notice how here, at 0, it gives me actually all the terms. And this is what's nice about it. Before you'd have to use that last answer feature and you'd have to do them one at a time. This will do several of them for you at once. So we're looking for the 8th term. So now it's important to actually highlight it so you can get it down to the nearest penny. So you can see that the car was worth, so our u sub 8 is worth $5,984.36. And we got our answer. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 says you purchase a rare gold coin for $500. Okay, so this is going to be our starting value. That's going to be our u sub 0. The value of the coin appreciates. It's going up by 7% per year. So I got my percentage there. Write a recursive rule for this situation. Let u sub 0 equal the starting value. So, just like we did before, our starting value u sub 0 equals 500. Then we can write the next part of the recursive definition, u sub n equals u sub n minus 1. And now we want to do the 7% increase or the appreciation. So it's going to be 1 plus 0.07. I like to write it though as times 1.07. Either or is acceptable. So now I have my recursive definition. Kind of jumping ahead here, kind of go a little fast. So in B, it says you decide to sell your gold coin 15 years later. Nice. How much will it be worth? So we want U sub 15. So now this is where I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put it in my calculator. And I'm going to look for U sub 15. So I'll pull up the calculator again. I can go back to my y equals. This top piece stays the same. Now here's kind of a little helpful hint. You don't clear this out. You can just use your right and left arrows and keep this U sub n minus 1 piece the same. We know it's actually times. Now I can just type in 1.07 and it's there. I have to though change my 20,000. My coin wasn't worth 20,000. It was worth only 500. And I know I say only 500. A coin worth $500. That's a lot of money. So now I have it in there. Now if I go to my table, I can scroll down. Now here's the thing. There's two ways we can do this. You can scroll down. It doesn't take too long to get to 15. But later on when we get to numbers like 40, 50, 60, we'll show you how to use your table set to get there a little bit faster. Remember again to actually highlight the value, because many of you will put $1,379.50 and you'll get it not quite right. Notice how with rounding it would actually be worth 52, that extra 52 cents. So we want U sub 15 and it's worth $1,379.52. All right, that takes care of the first page of the video. So you'll have to go to page 2 to get the rest for the next video.